You are listening to the Dark Fantastic Podcast.
Fresh Blood. A short story by Ahmed Khalifa. All he needed was fresh blood. That's what he'd said. Fresh blood. Now, a few hours away from sundown, Mike helped the swaying girl onto the chair. Fresh off the street, high as a kite. All it took was $200. Mike dusted off his hands, looked at the slumbering studio, with most of its lights dead and all of the staff gone. He looked at the girl again. The show's ratings had been on a downslide for some time now. News shows, unless they featured celebrity interviews, were dying a slow and painful death, and Newsline was one of the few shows that still leaned heavily towards hard news, and took it easy on the latest Hollywood scandals and reality show stars on the rise. Kevin Garrity, the show's ancient producer, still believed in the power and value of hard news. Mike, who was 30 years Garrity's junior, and who had been hired, because the head of the network thought that the show needed some fresh blood, couldn't disagree more. News was out, buzz was in. It was all about the here and now, nowadays. Who's hot, who's in trouble, who lied to whom, who had the #1 song, who had the #1 show. Nobody gave a damn about how the world ground on, how the wheels of the machinery turned, what really went on in the kitchen. People wanted to get high, escape, enjoy the show. And that's why Mike had invited Chris Carr. He was hot, he was mysterious, nobody knew if he was gay or straight, nobody knew his exact age, very few had managed to get an interview with him, and that had been years ago. Come to think of it, Mike didn't really know why Carr had agreed to come on a show in decline like Newsline, shot on one of the most deserted spots in LA. All Mike knew was that Carr had accepted the invitation, and that he would be on, tonight at 9. It was a coup for Mike, who had only been with the show for a year, and who had only managed to book 3 guests during that time, all of them B-listers, mostly fading stars or sitcom sidekicks. He needed a break. His agent didn't return most of his calls, his girlfriend rarely spent the night anymore, and bills were due, a lot of them. So securing an interview with Chris Carr, the author of the hottest non-fiction hardcover in town, was a massive stroke of luck for Mike, and a big win for Newsline. Mike knew that millions would tune in, wanting to know how Carr managed to gain access to the innermost secrets of some of the most famous people on Earth, both living and dead. His book was a blockbuster. Yes, it was a massive win for Mike and the show. And all Chris Carr had asked for was that the show be taped after sunset. And that there would be plenty of fresh blood. The girl coughed, stirred in her seat. The drugs were wearing off.
You've been listening to the Dark Fantastic Podcast. Text copyright Ahmed Khalifa. 2021. Ahmed Khalifa is a filmmaker and novelist. He is the writer/director of several short films and a feature, which was released on Netflix, and the author of a number of novels and short stories, including the young adult horror novel, Beware the Stranger, available on Amazon. Find him on Twitter at @AF Khalifa.